just let us know, Trevor, when the system's up. Well, I guess we got 5 minutes left.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I will. Yeah, if you don't mind, I will. Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay, are we ready to go? Perfect. Got the thumbs up. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight for the Atkins City Council meeting for Tuesday, December 17th, 2024, at 6:30 p.m. We'll begin with a pledge of allegiance. Ask all rise. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Beginning with the roll call, I believe David Fisher would be online. Is that correct, David? See a call-in user.
Is that Dave or just Teresa?
Teresa's on video.
Oh, okay.
I don't see David Fisher present time.
Hey, here.
Oh, there we are, David. Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Let's check the audio again, David.
I'm on here.
Great. Do you have audio?
You need me to start and fix this, correct?
To mute. I think he's asking what he's got to push to mute.
Oh, *6 is the mute unmute. And we can hear you. It's just
That's what I did.
yes, we can hear you now. It's a little bit choppy. So can you say a few words for us to see if it's going to hold in there?
Check.
Well, that's working good. Well, we'll continue on then. Thank you. All right, with the roll call would be Trevor Dursky,
Present.
E.J. Bell,
Present.
Jim Kane,
Present.
Samantha Peterson,
Present.
and David Fisher.
Present.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Ask for a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second on that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Peterson. Any further discussion? Questions? Okay, hearing none, roll call votes. Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
E.J. Bell.
Aye.
Jim Kane.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson.
Aye.
And David Fisher.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 3, consent agenda approval. That's the minutes of November 26th, December 3rd, December 4th. List of bills for approval and financial reports for October and November received. And also a resolution authorizing a payment for Alston Echo Homes for the IEDA contract, one of our many authorizations for that. So,
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
okay. Any second on that? Any discussion?
I'll second it. And is Teresa going to give some background on?
Yeah, we can ask for that. You bet. Okay, we have a second by Peterson, and this time we'll discussion or questions. And Samantha, if you have good comments.
No, I was just wondering if this is where she gets to chime in here.
Oh, okay.
So, no, I don't have any specific questions right now.
I didn't hear what they're saying.
Nothing specifically.
Okay,
Nothing
sure,
specific at this
Teresa.
time. Yeah.
Nothing specific on the financials, but if you'd like to offer any notable items there, you're welcome to.
Did I have anything of note that I wanted to talk about to anyone? No, like I had in the written summarization report that I give you, that then goes with the detail of the G-Works report. I don't know if, I don't know necessarily what the planning and zoning, the $50,000 that we budgeted for, that I've commented the last several months in community and economic development department, on their expenditures. They're trending way below budget, which just means they haven't spent anywhere near what we thought we would budget for expenses. I don't know if anyone can give me any insight into what that was for or what we were budgeting for.
We can look up the notes from the prior budget time and let you know.
What was that?
Yeah,
Um,
I tried to look through my notes and couldn't really see anything. I didn't know if there was a couple potential subdivisions that were coming in and you knew there was gonna be a lot of planning or something happening and that's what you're anticipating, and if it's still coming, or if we've been coding something wrong. I guess I just wanted to make sure we weren't paying for something wrong or not the way we had budgeted it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
But I haven't heard from any department heads, and no particular council person has asked any question about it either. I just didn't know if anyone saw anything there that they wondered about or questioned.
Okay. I don't think there's anything in particular tonight. Look forward to some discussion with you Thursday morning then on that.
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions on the consent agenda? Good, hearing none, roll call votes. Trevor Dursky. Aye. E.J. Bell.
Aye.
Jim Kane.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson.
Aye.
And David Fisher.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Moving on to item number 4. Resolution authorizing the use of a preliminary official statement for the sale of general obligation corporate purpose bond series 2025. This is information provided by Maggie Berger, Spear Financial. I had a chance to read that resolution in total. That would take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Motion, do we have a second to approve?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Questions?
Yeah, we need to clarify, so it's gonna be 3 million, general obligation, but 450,000 of that, correct, is recouping investments already made in water and sewer. Correct.
That's the way I understand it.
Well, improved water and sewer improvements.
Right, so the funds were negative, this should get us back positive, if I understand prior discussions correctly, because if this was just the fire station itself, I would expect the bond to be lower than 3 million. So I just want to make that clear. This 3 million, the lion's share of it is fire station, but the use of proceeds are pretty clear and consistent with what we discussed. It's covering other things as well, but those are funds that have already been committed or probably been spent.
Right, that's correct. I believe the statement in there was that they've been spent for the the 450K had been consumed in some way.
Yeah, it says, 450,000 for the purpose of paying the cost to that extent of constructing street improvements and constructing water system improvements. And as published notice of the proposed action is held a hearing thereon on June 27, 2023.
Yeah, we've had that for a while.
Yeah, it's been hanging on. We talked about it at the very beginning when I came on last February. I just wanted to take the opportunity to point that out, just on public record, just kind of clarify what is feeding into that aggregate amount.
And the reason those are put together in one bond sale is for cost reasons.
Sure.
It's less costly to implement one sale versus two, especially on the smaller side.
And unrated.
Any further discussion on that information? I do appreciate Maggie and Teresa, Amy working with us to get the documents created. There's a lot of good information that goes into that. Preliminary official statements, very interesting information too. It's quite encouraging, really, when you look at the demographics and the other information in there about the city of Atkins, and it's interesting to read. If anyone would like to do that, we'll certainly can publish that. Okay, is there any further discussion? And this is also one more thing, Maggie wanted us to remind everyone, this is the first of 3 different votes for the bonds. Tonight is approval of the statement. So with that, we'll have the roll call vote. Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
E.J. Bell.
Aye.
Jim Kane.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson.
Aye.
And David Fisher.
Aye.
All ayes. Motion carries. Next item is resolution approving informal settlement with Iowa OSHA. That resolution spells out some actions that taken with the OSHA incident. With that, Iowa OSHA has stated a penalty of $6,250 and some other actions, what they call abatement actions, and then a timeline to complete that within 15 working days those citations. There were 2 citations, and they did reduce citations from serious to not other than serious, and they did remove one $251 penalty to $0. So like I said, a total of $6,250 for the final tally on that. And there's also the report from Sarah Hollander, the consultant for safety. She provided, she was not able to be here. So with that,
Do we know what the impact is of serious versus other than serious? Characterization of the infraction, the citation.
Maybe I'll speak a little bit, and Holly, if you would offer us, Holly Corkery, City Attorney. The safety consultant brought it up that helps with any future citations that might come out. There are regulations and rules about if you have serious citations in a row. There's different penalties involved than if you have other than serious citations. So it's a benefit to have them ranked lower.
It also impacts our insurance. Every time that goes up, it may not hit this time, but when you get serious rather than other serious or misdemeanors, that always shows up on the data that the insurance company uses when they run our.
Okay. Holly, do you have any comments on the difference between the serious versus non-serious? Other than serious?
Yeah, I think exactly how you described it, Bruce, and I'm sure that's like what Doug and Doug was who actually sat in on the negotiation is what I understand. But I'm sure that's what Doug and you discussed that day, but whenever you can negotiate those down to other than serious, or I think you just charges other than serious, then, those violations will not result in larger penalty, they're less likely to have larger penalties in the future, or to grow into larger penalties in the future. So it's just beneficial in that way to keep that rate down.
I just had a quick question. So in the risk solution, safety and assessment, it's got, practices, blah, 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 and recommendations and opportunities. Obviously, the recommendations, I'm assuming probably more absolute opportunities. Is that something we're going to discuss as a council, or it's already being discussed? Probably should do those opportunities, I think, moving forward, so that incident like this hopefully never happens again. Probably start figuring out immediately how we can implement those, because honestly, I'm reading everything here. It just seems reasonable. I know that pretty standard that most employers would have all those in place. I think that's probably something we probably should figure out, do something quickly, so that we don't hopefully this something like this never happens again. So.
Yeah, one of the abatement requirements that they brought back to us were the establishment of those procedures and practices, as well as in training.
Okay.
So that was one of what they call the serious citations, but there are what they call abatement letters. There's abatement records, and those are included in the packet. I don't remember the wording exactly, but essentially procedures and practices and training.
So will she put together a proposal for like what it will cost and what the timeline looks like? And we'll have that on the next agenda.
Yeah,
I mean, is that what you're asking? Is kind of
Yeah,
what
I
the
just
next
see all
step is?
the, because it's got all this stuff, the recommendations, got opportunities to get things, other things done. I just think we probably should do those.
Right.
They're telling us, and,
I would agree that.
so if I want this to ever happen again, so.
I think in the future, we're gonna have to work more and more with consultants as we're growing, because we're getting more equipment, more different diverse things that are going on, and we're gonna have to work with consultants to make sure that our staff is trained as they're taking on new responsibilities and new equipment there to get the training to go along with that. Corporations do the same thing if they do any move into other areas. We're doing an awful lot of things that we didn't do 10 years ago with different equipment and stuff. So part of the growing pains things, we're just going to have to get professional safety people involved. We aren't going to be big enough to have that in-house, so we'll have to use consultants in that, in my opinion.
So everything's online, you can get it.
Well, we can certainly get a proposal and get that before the council. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve the settlement with OSHA.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion?
Where are we at with all the corrective measures?
the corrective, or the abatement record, those have been completed, which, well, the idea that we have on contract someone to advise us on safety measures. Of course, we have not implemented a safety program at this point, but that's ongoing. We do have completed training and, moving toward that. We did present the contract with True North Safety Loss Control as part of our package, you might say. And then we have removed the equipment that was at fault out of service, and we have posted all the warnings and information to the employees. The employees have begun different training measures. They've completed the 10-hour training, which is the basic startup. They've completed trainings for scaffolding and aerial lift. And we'll be continuing on with the basic trainings required. And then, of course, the proposal to implement the full program. Does that answer your question, David, or?
It does. We've got a long way to go, it sounds like, but a short time to get there. And just, we've got to take the initiative ourselves to go out and get this information as well, and not just look for it from a consultant, because it's all out there for anybody to find.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote. Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
EJ Bell.
Aye.
Jim Kane.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson.
Aye.
And David Fisher.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item number 6. Resolution approving the proposal by Altor for Power Systems for the standby generator, an automatic transfer switch, installation services, materials for well number 2 in the amount of $70,200. This is generator for well number 2, which currently does not have a backup generator available to it. Only 2 wells. And the resolution tonight would allow it to be placed on the ARPA qualifying list, because that list has to have items obligated by the end of this calendar year, which is December 31. And we've seen this back in the April-May timeframe during budget time. The same proposal from that period.
So the ARPA, this is a grant? Like, if we don't use it, we lose it, kind of a thing by the end of this calendar year? Is it my understanding?
Correct. Yeah, that's the way the ARPA grant works, is that they issued the money, 2 of the funds to us, and then we would need to consume those, find projects that would qualify for that grant. And we'd be allowed to keep that money. Now, I sent out this afternoon, I know it's kind of a later thing this afternoon, but Sandy Fowler provided a tabulated list. She came in on Friday, went through the receipt, the expenditures we have to date that would likely qualify for that particular grant. Again, we have not submitted any of these, so we're not sure if someone would be looked upon as maintenance, but Sandy felt that those would qualify. We did talk to,
Mayor,
yes,
excuse me, Mayor, did you send that to me?
I may have not, Teresa.
Okay.
It would-
If I could, you just said here, a bit more explaining a little bit.
Yeah.
So that ARPA fund, when it came out, there were all these regulations that went with it. And then what happened is they realized that it was gonna be too hard to track all that, federal government, all that. And so they came back and said that certain cities, to which Johnston, Atkins, and numerous cities became, we weren't an entitled unit, so to speak. And so we could say that the amount of money that we received could be spent on any lawful purpose that we had coming back to us. And so our Atkins has spent all of the money they've received already. And certain reports have been filed off and on since this all started back in COVID, so 2020, 21. And we started getting money in 22 and 23, and we're now at the end of 24, and we have to have it spent by the end of 25, maybe into 26. But we've already said we've committed, we're spending that, and we used that money and transferred it all to your water utility. So the money's gone. Now, what you're having to prove in the report is that you spent it on lawful purpose items that more than likely were out of your water and sewer fund, and that's, I assume, the list that Sandy gave you. It doesn't have to be that particular list, but I would like to have seen that memo. But that's the, I guess that's the point. If we don't have everything committed, and there was like 60-some thousand left by the end of this year, this meeting, then we would have to pay that back. It isn't like we just lose it. We have to pay it back because we've already spent it. So I just wanted to clarify that, and I apologize for interrupting you.
well, thank you, Teresa. One comment, the $60,000 you were thinking that was remaining.
Yeah.
That's where we put a finer pin to it, you might say, and pulled all receipts that seem to be infrastructure related to water, because we had passed a resolution, like you said, when it started, City Council passed a resolution stating that those funds, if they were received, would go toward water improvement infrastructure. So there were some items like painting the water tower that could be iffy, but we included them anyway.
Absolutely.
So,
And that's a lawful expense of your water operating money, and that can be done. I don't think that's a question.
okay. So,
I think it's okay.
so with all that, like you said, going back to the date when allowable items were implemented or taken care of at that time, as far as infrastructure, I believe it was March of 21, was about the beginning date we could qualify items. So we came up with a total then, actually over the ARPA funds amount.
Awesome.
Yeah. And Trevor, do you have,
That's
does anyone have that up? What is the total?
The total qualifying is 432,959.
Okay.
But the right way to think about this, I think, there's a large component of this that's operating and maintenance. And I mean, I just would view funds such as this coming in, you shouldn't view it, I wouldn't view it from a budgeting perspective that one year we just budget less for O&M because we're gonna get this ARPA money. The ARPA money needs to be
I
used.
agree.
The ARPA money should be used for upgrades and new things you wouldn't otherwise budget for. And I think that's where there's a way to look at that. It seems like all the ARPA's been spent, perhaps one view. But that would have assumed back in the past at some point we budgeted low for whatever reason, counting on this ARPA money to come in, and then we used it for operating and maintenance. I wouldn't agree with that from a budgeting standpoint. And so I'm just kind of doing some back of the envelope math here. And in terms of improvements, like there's a water plant electronics upgrade for 83,000. There's a couple of new motors. It's tough to tell even when we say new motor, is that a replacement or is that an additional motor?
No.
But yeah.
And that's where we're running into problems, because some of that was used as general maintenance stuff. We had a motor and a pump go bad, and we spent it on that because we had it. But this, because it is an upgrade, there was some discussion on whether or not we were ever going to be able to afford that background or that backup generator, which is a great thing. But some of that maintenance money could be pulled by putting this in here. Now we've got that there that we can apply the money for.
Right.
If they pull some of that around. That was what was considered during the budgeting time.
Right. And so, yeah, depending on what the question was.
Even that controller, although it was an upgrade, the old controller went bad. So part of that was maintenance, but then because we couldn't get the right parts and stuff, it necessitated an upgrade. So then it was an improvement.
It's been a benefit to the city, for sure.
I think if you look at, again, I don't have the total to pull up really quick, I apologize for that, but the 432,000, is that correct? Okay, so we had 432,000 of expenditures over the roughly 3 fiscal years. We have 295,000 paid by ARPA.
Yep.
So you're looking at 60%, 70% roughly that's paid for through that program. So I think that is a good deal.
All water. I mean, did you pull all water expenses, maintenance?
That's where it was all transferred to.
Well, this sheet here for these 3 years, is that essentially everything that's been spent that could qualify?
That's correct. That's what we set out some parameters of qualification. It had to be water, and it had to be something that was not we would normally do. Although you can look at fire hydrants as something you replace every 60 years, but at this point, they're larger or have some enhancement associated with them. So that was a criteria we used to pull those. The scrubber, for example, was an upgrade to make it work better and make it last longer, we hope. So those are and then the control system was, like mentioned, is an improvement, better technology, operations.
Okay.
So I think it's a good deal. We just fell on us, and it helps relieve part of that water fund. And then I would also add that, well, it's not related directly to the resolution we have at hand, but there is a pump and motor replacement that we planned for last fall in 23. We have to implement that soon. That's, we're using a borrowed pump and motor at this time, and that was because of supply issues and the availability of the post installment. So I'm going to push that forward. That's listed on that list, about the 30,000 number. So, but that's not related to the resolution directly.
And what are the 2 well 3 motors in 23? Just a little bit above.
Those were failed. The initial one was a failure of the motor itself. Basically stopped working. The second failure occurred because a piece of equipment failure.
Were those covered? Were those
No, there was a control, there was an electronic control unit that went out, but after the first motor went out, there was a variable electronic control module that went out, and that took out the second motor. It was just Murphy's thing.
The first one was not under, it was 9 or 10 years old. The first one. And the second one was a failure from the way the equipment operated in the plant that caused the motor to go out. And I believe I believe where we're at now is that the third motor is to get us back to equipment that the city owns. Right now, there's a motor in the well that is borrowed. So, and that's supplied by the well company to keep us working immediately, because when the well goes down, you've got to replace it within about 12-hour time frame to keep water in our tower.
Kind of like a loaner car, the car dealer, if you get it repaired.
Right.
So what's the $30,000 expenditures for all three motors in FY '23?
The first motor was a failure.
But that one was 9 years old.
Correct. 9+.
It just went out one weekend, and when they got it, they got another one and replaced that, and like 2 or 3 days later, then that motor locked up and Todd went down there, and when they went to do troubleshooting, they had trouble, and they found out that there was an issue with the variable voltage control unit that run the motor. Now, whether that first motor, that I never did get the full, whether when the first motor went out, it caused that to be weak or something, but then they ended up having to replace both the variable voltage control unit and the motor simultaneously, and then that got us back up and running.
It looks like we bought well number 3 motor twice.
Yes.
We've replaced it twice now.
How much of that have we recouped, or do we have any recourse at all for either of those losses?
We had the motor analyzed after the second replacement to see if, was it our problem or was it the manufacturing? Like you're saying, is it a bad mechanism that you procure, just like you would in your home or anything? And it was determined that the cause was something in the plant then that took out, and that's since been replaced.
Are you guys all comfortable with this? I'm just catching up, but.
No, it's quite a history, you're right on that.
Okay.
I just choose not to speak.
If you
It's my
want to
opinion.
go
Doesn't
further,
matter.
I can dig into it with you later privately, Trevor. So I was down with Todd when this happened, and because of my electronic experience, what it was the control module. Those are 3-phase motors, they're variable, and the first motor went out, okay, from age. Then we replaced that, and he got a warning, and the motor went out again, just died. So as they were troubleshooting then, before they put the other motor in, then they had to do some extensive troubleshooting, found out that the control module was bad. Then they had to take and have everything analyzed to make sure that it wasn't a factory defect on the original motor, but it wasn't. And it wasn't anything that could have been foreseen when they replaced the first motor. Because the module, there was no testing done on the control module at that time, because there was no indication that there was a problem with the control module.
But we can give you a write-up on.
The only thing that I want to say to this is, I'm fine with Jim knowing all this. This is where I've been trying to say, just, I think would be good to have Todd in here monthly or quarterly, especially with these type of things. Since he runs it, he would be able to explain it all coming from his mouth, so we're not getting, don't take your, it's not from you, not from Jim, not from any of us, coming from him, because he knows that like the back of his hand. That's
Well,
what-
and he's in that position, that's his role in the town, and honestly, the council and the town, there's accountability there,
Yeah, that's all I'm
right?
right.
And I think that's fair. So on behalf of the residents in the town, we're talking about $60,000, $90,000, 60 for sure, lost, and I'm just trying to figure out how.
Well, I think, we can give you the timeline of all that happened. Now, the reason the borrowed motor has been in there so long, you might say, part of it was the well company wanted to make sure that the equipment that we did have on hand, all the replacements, weren't going to burn up a new motor, let's say. So they offered to provide a loaner well and pump, and it has been in there this long, but also there were some supply issues.
Yeah, I'm good with the loaner. I appreciate the work to keep it running, and for our partners that allow this relationship and loan, grateful for that. good on all those things. I'm just like, how do we know before we spend another $30,000 that we won't blow another motor up?
Yeah.
So I think that is where the council has,
Oh, sure.
we do have a part to play there in understanding that before before we all vote to improve it. That's what I'm trying to get at here. And that's totally off topic, but
Yeah, I would say that resolution has already been passed and approved, but and that is separate from the resolution, of course, in hand. So. But, no, good questions. It's just part of the history. Okay. So, again, this would be, pardon when I talk off topic there a little bit, that's a resolution approving proposal for the power system, the standby generator.
Motion to approve the proposal.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I want to take a look at this, the nature of this agreement real quick. So pre-start audit is going to be performed by Alta project manager. They're going to install it.
Correct.
They're going to service it.
Yeah, I believe it's the number of years specified, it's 2, I believe, it includes a service agreement for 2 years.
And is there any concern with that, I guess, being adjacent to that structure down there? I mean,
I know that they've looked at their separation requirements around the unit, that sort of thing for servicing. They've got its spot laid out down there for that. So they did come and consider location where to mount it on the east side of the building. It will be sitting on a concrete pad, which is part of their standard installation. The city has these that are similar at the lift station. For example. And then following the Caterpillar proposal, there's a diagram.
training. So we are already operating similar equipment?
Yes. In fact, this will be the last structure that falls under public works that would need a backup.
We have one of these on well 3 now, and that's our backup. We just don't have it on well 2, and we can't move it from well 3 to well 2. So if something happens and the power is out, we have no way of using well 2 to pump water.
Yeah, okay.
Do we have a second to the motion?
I just really would like Todd to come here and explain all this. That's just, you gotta do what you want.
Well, I mean, is that meaningful to the vote? Is that a decisive issue for somebody to hear from Todd?
I just really haven't heard from Todd for any of this stuff. That's just me. But, it's just me.
I'll wait that now if you'd like me to.
Is that-
What is
I do.
The same thing I said during budget time.
Sorry, David, go ahead.
Dave, you were breaking up.
So this is the same. This is the same thing I said during budget time as well. We have a generator. We have it on a well. That well would have to fail and that generator would have to fail in order to have another backup generator for the other well. Plus, we have to deplete all of our water within our entire system in order to even need it.
David, that's not true.
Again, what we're trying to do is we're putting in a backup to a backup is exactly what we're doing. And I cannot spend taxpayer money like that and say, I want to spend $70,000 for a backup to a backup. So I'm a no.
Is that, can we talk about, is that what it is? Or I guess I don't understand if that's,
Well,
is
Well,
it a back,
I mean,
is that, what he's saying, is that
Well,
true?
we are required to have backups adequate to supply the average daily demand for our system. That's part of our license. And having backups.
And you already have that.
Well, we have a backup on one part of the system if that well is not available, similar to the well motor going out. We have to have that pump replaced within 12 hours to continue to fill the system. That was the situation we were in with the well motors and pumps going out before, is if that is not restored within 12 hours, no matter what you have in the rest of the system, you're not going to get any water. So we were not able to, at that time, use.
What you're asking here though, Bruce,
David, let me finish. At that time,
Bruce,
we had no other.
you're
source of
talking
water.
about two different scenarios. The scenario is losing power.
And so
One generator.
so what you have is the second well needs to have alternate power, just like the other well would be. And this is one way to do it. I mean,
No, it doesn't.
well, without the alternate power there.
It doesn't need it. You already have backup power to your first well.
True, but that power can't be used on this well.
You'd have to have a failure of a well, and you'd have to have failure of power.
No,
You'd have to
David, you
have
can't
two
move the
scenarios
generator.
fail altogether.
You cannot move the backup generator from well 3 to well 2 in the given time frame.
This is a perfect example of why Todd should be.
I never said that.
Everything.
Well,
I never said that.
I'm just trying to meet the requirements we have for our license to supply.
No, I think his point is that, well,
And we meet those recommendations.
He thinks we could, if well 3 goes down, we can move the generator from 3 to 2, and that's not physically possible.
no, it's if well 2 goes down.
Then we're okay. If well 2 goes down, we're okay because we got well 3 and the
Hold
generator's
on,
there.
why do you need the generator?
The generators.
Why do you need the generator? Stop. Why do you need the generator? What do you need the generator for? Because of loss of power, right?
That's Correct.
You already have a generator on a well. You are covering your needs there. You would have to have loss of power, plus you have to have the generator fail, which should never fail because you cycle it, because you PM it, because you do all the maintenance on it. Plus, you'd have to have a well failure in order to meet all your expectations you're talking about.
Why would the
So,
generator need to fail to need
Well-
this additional one? I don't understand that. I mean, because the generator we have wouldn't
You already
help
have-
us in this.
You already have a generator on a well.
I understand what he's saying, so.
You meet your requirements right now.
Okay, well, explain this, the funding that this ARPA situation where we,
All right.
I mean, isn't
Let me
the,
put it to you, let me put it to you this way. If you go out and spend $5,000 for a generator for your house, because you may have a failure to power to your house, and you realize that, hey, that generator may fail. So now I'm gonna go out and spend another $5,000 as a backup to that generator.
well, where's our first generator at? It's not at the location that we're talking about right now. So it's at
Our
a
first
separate
gen-
location. So I don't think that, at least I'm not wrapping my head around what Dave's saying. I don't believe that it's a backup to a backup because the
It's
That
not, it's
makes
a backup.
exactly. We only
generator
need
that,
one well to keep us above water.
well,
okay, but it's not really a backup to the generator that we have though. I don't think that's.
and I should back up a little bit
It
too.
absolutely is.
There is,
It's a backup to the backup.
this is a history, there's history of having backup power at this facility years ago until the electrical upgrade in Atkins by Alliant that removed the generator at the telephone company. It was a shared resource between the telephone company and the city. The telephone company owned that generator, it's gone now. So therefore, there's no power backup at this location. So that's how the backup power used to be.
Don't meet your requirements.
So, but,
But as far as the funding goes, we have this, like, maybe I'm not wrapping my head around this, where we have this funding available, we have to declare that we're gonna use it all this month, or we have to pay whatever's left back to the state, and I understand, so to my first point, is it kind of like a use it or lose it? I mean, whether it's a backup to the backup or not, is this funding we have available to us now, that we could use to benefit the city if something happened?
on the funding side of things, it appears that we have spent enough through the time period of the grant to exhaust the grant. We've already exceeded that with as we analyze it today. Now, as we turn things in the final filing, it's, there may be a few things that they would throw out as maintenance versus actual infrastructure improvements. But we would qualify to use this money if we need to. We would qualify it by having it procured in this calendar year. It doesn't mean you have directly money to spend on it, but that $300,000 we've received, $295,000 we've received in grant funds goes a long ways toward absorbing some of this expense. And
We don't know what ARPA's gonna say about what we've already spent, and if we lose that, then we are gonna pay that ARPA money back. If this is on the books to do, and it qualifies, then that would go there, we would have to pay the bills, but the money would go on to this as opposed to going back to the federal government. And as far as the generator goes, it's like Dave buying a generator, putting it out on a farm, and then he loses power to his house. He ain't gonna run out there and move a damn 5-ton generator to the house from the garage, from his farm. It's two separate locations that don't wire up.
I think that's one of the questions, maybe, that we're not addressing here is, what's the importance of both wells running, being online at the same time? Does that have any impact on the city's ability to resupply the storage to keep up with demand?
They're cycled back and forth as used. But having a backup power source in well number 2 is beneficial, because we've had situations, for example, well number 2 had to be down for several months because the casing, it had issues with the casing that had to be pulled and rebuilt. That took a matter of weeks.
So a well failure is not a low is not like an unthinkable event.
No, they basically always go bad.
When well 3 went down, okay, we were down for several days getting that pump, and it was over 2 weeks, I think, that by the time we did the 2 pumps replacements and all of that, well 2 covered us and we were fine, as long as we didn't lose power. If there would have been a storm or the derecho or a power outage there, we would have had no way to pump water in this town, period. That's the reality.
What did we use? During derecho, did we use that well? No.
Correct. We did not use it during duration because it was not available, because it was under rebuild at the time.
But if that had been well 1,
we would have been hauling water.
well 2.
If that would have been well 2 that went out, we would have had to haul water in on tanker trucks to fill our.
I mean, I'm not a well driller, I'm not a well expert. I do hear Dave's point to a certain extent. I think there's I mean, but I wouldn't go so far as to characterize this as outrageous as wearing 2 hard hats. Like, I think there's a situation that's above 0 probability where you would want this generator. And that's a situation where it's one of those, like, it's not gonna be a man, I wish we had it, it's gonna be a big deal. There's a fiscal reality. We're about halfway through the year, and Public Works is at least 100,000 ahead, 120. And this was budgeted, so we're ahead even without this, or even including this expenditure. And then there's the consideration of the ARPA money, which to date, we're crediting a lot of operation and maintenance filters, things of that sort for the money. Now, I totally can see the point, we could save the money, right? But I think the reality is that we're ahead on budget. We're well below expenditure on almost every single category. Some of them significant amounts. And so I don't think
Maybe
this
we
is.
should use it put it on water.
What's that, Dave?
Maybe we should use correctly and put it on our water problems.
The 70,000 for the generator?
Yeah, with a known problem that we need to get fixed, why would we not spend that money the way it should be spent on issues that we know we have a problem with, not for a backup?
So we got 5.1 million in water main upgrades we gotta do.
That's not what I heard.
I mean, that's what we're already, this is the last capital improvement plan. If you've got an idea, I'd love to hear the idea.
Well, if you were at that meeting the other night when we talked about the water issues, I stated everything clearly there as well.
Yeah, I did. I listened to it. It sounds like there's a disagreement between water capacity and water supply, water demand and water capacity. But again, that's the question of a water tower, I think, and pressure. I guess I'm not, the amounts I've heard and the amounts we've considered, I'm not sure this is really on the same order of magnitude, but fair point. I do think that we're okay on the budget. I mean, it sounds like Dave's a no in any case, which is fine. I just, if there's the opportunity that having Todd come discuss this helps others make a decision here, then I'm willing to wait, or I'm willing to consider, to support that too. Just, more of the same. How do we navigate forward, do the right thing with as much consensus as possible?
Well, we have a motion to approve the resolution. We would need a second to move forward with anything. Would anyone entertain a motion, a second on that motion to approve?
I will second, but I agree that it would be helpful to have Todd come and help us through some of these conversations in the future. I think it's important, and I think it would help us answer some of the questions that we have. So I would agree with that, but I'll second the motion.
Okay. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. We would have the roll call vote. Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
E.J. Bell.
Nay.
Jim Kane.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson.
Aye.
And David Fisher.
Nay.
Motion carries. Okay. Moving on to item number 7. That's resolution. Resolution approving the pay request number 2 from the Eastern Iowa Excavating. This is for the pond outlet repair project in the matter of $9,211.20. This is the second, and we believe the final request, and then there'll be we have to clear off the retainage that we have on that project, which is always 5%. This does complete the pond outlet repair project, and the engineer had provided a letter stating that it's proper. So we have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the pay request.
I'll second it. See if it actually works when it gets on. Believe me, I'll know real fast.
Okay. So a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. So Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
E.J. Bell.
Aye.
Jim Kane.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson.
Aye.
And David Fisher.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, item number 8 is resolution approving the city employee hire library assistant. Saw the resolution recommending hire by the library board. Addison Duvall, and you saw the rate there, $16.05 an hour. Motion to approve that. That is their Holly, maybe, I know I put you on the spot because we didn't mention this, but we do have the library board has the ability to hire and staff their library board or library. So Holly, would you like to comment there at all on that process?
Yeah, so the library would have the opportunity to, the library would be the party that would hire staff and board. So you would just be approving this resolution they would already make. Is that what the ultimate, motion is there? I see the resolution in the packet.
Correct. It's that the library board has come before the city council with a resolution of hiring, and then the city council acknowledges that resolution, and beyond that, we'll put it on the payroll.
Yep. Yeah, the council doesn't have any say, doesn't really have a role in, the operations of the library other than financing it, so, we'll just get Google, and it looks like, for the resolution, you have the finances with the dollars per hour there.
Okay. This is a replacement of a retiring employee, so.
Make a motion to approve it. For hiring their assistant.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
A motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. And thank you, Holly, for that, by the way.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, hearing none, we'll have Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
EJ Bell.
Aye.
Jim Kane.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson.
Aye.
And David Fisher.
All right,
Motion carries. Then we have item number 9, which is discussion regarding the Atkins Community Club welcome sign. We see that on a letter from the Atkins Community Club, they're asking for some consideration or discussion regarding the possibility of having a welcome sign at the corner of 33rd Avenue and Park Ridge Road in a right-of-way area. And it shows a proposed type of sign. You mentioned some of the location of it. I don't know if the city engineer has reviewed this location or if there's some considerations that have to be taken with the sign, but I would think if it's in the right of way, I'd have a recommendation from engineering on that, but I just wanted to gather any discussion we can.
I have three concerns. Because of where we're putting it and what I see there. The first one is to interface with the neighbors there to the north. That is a good sized lot there that may go commercial, it may go private. I don't know what kind of a sign they're doing, but having a sign right on their property line to the south, there might be an issue. I'd like to navigate that a little bit. I'd also like to make sure we discuss it with our parks and recs. The proposed that was there actually has a sign sitting right on the property line. That property out there is a little bit unique because the actual property from the north interfaces right in the middle of E44 and through there. I think we need to make sure that our people have space to take care of it. I don't know what kind of a sign it's going to be, but I don't want to put something out there. The community club wants to buy a sign, but then we're going to have to pay to take care of it and maintain it and to see that they have room for their equipment and stuff around there to mow or to do what they're going to do. The third thing is we've already had one guy got killed running north and run into a tree. Now we're going to have a sign they can run into. So there's going to be 3 roads. Somebody sooner or later is going to run into that sign. Whether we're going to have liability on something like that or not, I don't know. But that's my 3 concerns.
I think it's a nice, a sign for the city would be a good thing overall. So I think it's good to consider.
I'd love to see signs out on the corners, and that's an ideal location there to coming into town to advertise our town, but like I said, depends on what kind of a sign it is and where it is. There's very few trees there, and there've been several people that have run into the ditch on that corner from at least 2 of the 3 directions that I'm aware of. My real concern is, like always, it's gonna be some drunk and he's gonna live through it and everybody else in the car is gonna die.
Any other thoughts, or you can always share them back to the community club as well. Just
I think just in the spirit of partnership on this, it'd be nice, it'd be helpful to have a rep from the community or individuals. If there's a person taking this as a project in the club or however they're gonna organize around this, just to have that conversation here with the council, I think would help us understand how can we support it, how can we talk to people about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That was what I was gonna say.
I think there's plenty of room out there. We could put something out there that would be very positive and.
It looked like they were constructing it with the safety idea in mind, I think with this non-concrete.
I know from a national standpoint, there's been a whole lot of criticism and complaints lately on bridges and the passes and stuff like that, where they used to build all these concrete things that were indestructible, that the cars were killing people. Now they're building more of them that break away, and they're, with the Department of Transportation, is doing a lot more things with safety as far as road barriers and stuff. It's something to look into.
Yeah, well, we can pass these, get some notes here. Feel free to reach out to the community club too.
Should we invite them to attend the next meeting in January to?
Well,
just
sure,
talk
or,
about it?
because
See, it's really on private property.
And they have,
Blow it up.
well, I'm sure it's not gonna be on private property. I mean, I'm sure they will make it
They'll have
so
to
it's
move it
not-
down there, and I just don't know how big it is, but we've done it before.
Yeah.
You know,
I think sure.
They know where their
Yeah,
property
it looks
line and
nice.
stuff goes out there, that's it. And that might not be,
For sure.
this might have some sort of an easement thing on there, but it's.
yeah,
That will all be
We'll-
reviewed, I'm sure.
we'll,
before we get to-
We'll invite them to consider some of these things and then come back to the city council. But like I said, you can give them a note or two if you'd like. Any thoughts, Dave, on the sign? Excluding
No, everything on here.
Okay, moving on to item number 10, this is discussion regarding the work plan and calendar to prepare the FY '26 budget. Teresa still is online there, and with that, Teresa did adjust the budget dates based on prior feedback, so that's like to get a review again by council. Questions?
I hope I got it the way everyone knows it. I tried to take pretty copious notes when we talked about that, but I tried to move everything up for you. And Amy and I, talked this afternoon, and we're, setting some times for some meetings with department heads. First of all, just to go over the budgets ourselves, make sure we're all clear and good, ready to go before we throw ourselves to the wolves or to you folks. Anyway, so we're hopefully be doing that in the next couple of weeks. Department heads got all their budgets, or got their work budgets given out to them, and change the calendar, and hopefully that looks okay to you. If you want me to make any other changes, I sure will give it a shot.
So we got 4 work sessions, is that right, workshops? January?
Yes, if we need to, you know, if we click right along, we won't have to.
I want to say,
You know, I don't, you know,
just again, we've already talked about it, I think we agree, but earmarking probably February 4th to the 28th, whatever it is, the last one, we need to have a final meeting that's a workshop
sure,
where we come to agreement on what we want to include from everything that we've heard and what.
Like after the department specific.
Talk to the departments, but we gotta have that meeting, in between talking to the departments and actually, you know, all the stuff that happens in March where we come to consensus on what we want to move forward with.
sure, I'm fine, yeah, that's great, I'm fine with that.
If all goes right, I mean, I think last year we only had 3 budget work sessions, I think, because we
We were interviewing as well at the same time, I think.
we did public works.
We had a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We,
some are mixed.
so anyway, there's 4 on here, so we might be able to have the department specific ones in the first 3 is what I'm saying, 2 or 3.
Right, and I think there's
And
time
then,
for sure.
and then the February 4th one could maybe be that wrap up, I guess.
Yeah.
That would be ideal.
Yeah, and we'll kind of, mold it a little bit as it goes and see how we're doing. And, get things done
And then,
as efficiently as possible.
so will you be taking the lead, Bruce, then on like scheduling with the departments on which night they are to come present
Well-
and that type of thing, or?
Well, with Teresa, and yes, we'll put out the word to get them in the timeframes. Some departments take longer than others, and Teresa and Amy can be a good judge on how detailed that folds out.
With the holidays,
Yes.
I'm just thinking that January 14th is gonna come real quick.
Yeah,
Yep, well, no,
So I don't wanna-
definitely.
certainly will.
Mhm.
You know, she and I have talked about, meeting. I couldn't this week, but we were gonna meet next week, 2 days, and then, day before New Year's Eve or whatever. So we're gonna try to get things, our part of it ready so that we're ready to roll when our dates are on your calendar.
Great. Okay. Moving on to reports, mayor's report. Due to prior ordinance, garbage rates are increasing January 1. And those rates will have an impact in the February timeframe because we pay after the service is received. The city administrator, and that's will be announced on the website because of ordinance number 228. The city administrator search continues. I attended an ECOG board meeting. They're preparing what they call a transportation plan for the region of 6 to 12 counties. It varies on which parts of the transportation. And then, of course, they've been involved with IOSHA and safety meetings that have been held with the departments. And disease tree removal continues. It's probably about 75 to 80% completed. The grass seeding and the grass mat installation has been possible because of the little bit of warm weather we've had and whatnot. So it's actually going a little quicker than we anticipated, but they're moving along. And the sewer plant sludge removal is completed. That was a project over Thanksgiving weekend, and now it's completed, and they have started to submit bills for that. So you'll see that on the next council meeting in January. Of course, you know, the budget planning process and information's been discussed and handed out to the departments. Completed the bonding questionnaires and documents the last 2 weeks. Those were things had to be done to meet this meeting. And then all the end of year forms and notifications have been completed to the state of Iowa by the deadlines in December. Appreciate Teresa and Amy and Maggie working with us on that. Got those all submitted. Then next month, Peggy Epping, library assistant, will be retiring on January 4th. Wish her well. And we'll be setting up everything we're required to do to provide that retirement send-off. So any paperwork involved, that kind of thing. So that completes the mayor's report. And any council member reports?
We got a report from Amy, and I appreciate the report we got. I think Friday, Tuesday.
Yeah, she did it this weekend, I think. Maybe. I don't know
Friday.
what day it was.
December 13th.
Yeah, Friday.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just, if you guys notice the aging accounts, one of the issues Sandy left with us as an open item was to do some research on this, address delinquent or inactive accounts and outstanding billing issues. Do we have a policy? Like, how can the council help with this?
Well, I know the legal folks have to review what we had so far. Yes, but that's a good question.
Well, because if it's an issue of I want to understand, is it an issue that of ordinances aren't up to date? Is it an issue of enforcement of ordinances? Is it help with messaging? And like, which of those issues? But these numbers here are not outrageous, but you know, there's about, if I understand the thing correctly, right? 10% of a monthly cycle is basically outstanding.
The 7,000.
Yeah, well, the total is 12,600. 7,000 is really old and perhaps uncollectible at this point. But I just appreciate the detail, and I feel like, you know, there's a little bit of a.
Those are great questions. Is that Trevor talking?
Yes.
I sometimes can't tell who's talking.
No, that's fine.
And Trevor, I'd love to talk to Amy about that a little bit, because when I had the utilities here in Johnston, it was part of our ordinance, and it was very specific how when late notices were sent out, when shut-offs were to be issued, when red tapes were done, and when someone was shut off. And then at 1 year's time, that bill was brought to the council's attention and was either turned over to the collection agencies, or you determined based on, depending on the size of it, there were rules or whatever, on when you decided just to write it off. And then it was always put in a folder. If they ever came back to Johnston, they'd still have to pay it. But I can certainly get those rules and regs that we had. They're not all that cumbersome. You know, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Send them to you guys and have something for you to start on. If you don't already have them in your water ordinance, in your water rates. I'd be surprised if they're not in there, but I'd be happy to talk to Amy about that for you.
Yeah, it seems like something that, from a governance standpoint, the council, this is of interest, right? And if the answer is, you know, I asked the question like I did, and the answer is like, no, we've got the procedure, we're following it, it's this, and this, we're not concerned. I mean, then I guess that's a conversation to have, but it just from Sandy's notes and then other conversations we've had, I feel like there is something we kind of got to drive some action on here. So I appreciate it.
Right.
Teresa.
And then you can certainly send out a message way before you start to start enforcing the rules. Even if you've had the rules now and you haven't been enforcing them, you could say, here's what the rules are, everybody. You know, here's what's gonna be coming down the pipe, and we're gonna have to start enforcing them, because none of us want to pay so-and-so's water bill for them. And, you know, kind of give people a warning maybe before you start shutting everybody off.
Yeah, and I don't want to advocate like, harsh shut-offs. We can come up with a lot of different ways that we handle the issue. It's just, are we handling it according to our plan? It's kind of, I guess, what I'm at.
Right. And equitably. So
One of the
that's
problems we're having,
important.
Teresa, is we've been going out of our way, and we have people that, our staff has been spending a lot of time just coddling and babying and begging people to pay their bills, and they come in and then they're 2 or 3 days late, and most of it is just certain habitual people, and it's small town not being able to do what big towns do yet.
Well,
Yeah, and unfortunately,
We need to
one
address
of
it.
the smaller towns I work for, actually, there's only 300 people in that town, and, they had almost, 80% of their accounts were delinquent. And it just got so out of hand, so you don't want to let that start.
Right.
no. So we'll feed those procedures.
I'll get that stuff in email.
Yeah.
I had a question on her report. So maybe I'm just misunderstanding it. We're not gonna be doing payroll internal, are we? Because the whole point for ESG is for payroll not to be in our hands at all. That's when I voted for that. I don't want payroll, no staff to be doing payroll at all, personally, ever. That's why we're hiring outside, so that they take up all, if the payroll changes so much, it's constant, it's, when you put that pressure on the city clerk, I don't care who it is up here. I mean, like, I just think that's crazy. That should be all done outside. I know we have a smaller staff, but I don't care if it's 2 or 10 or 5. I just think payroll is one thing, it's annoying to do payroll. I just think it should be outsourced the entire time, no matter what. And that's what I know I voted for. So when did this come into play to start training someone to do payroll internal? I mean,
Well, I'll ask Amy to give you or Tricia to give you the process involved in that, whether it's going to be a training, bringing on more functions as we get.
well, that's not what I voted for.
Okay.
We need to have another discussion, because
That's what we'll do. Is we'll give you
so
the
like
information.
it was hard. That was a hard line for, I don't know about Dave, I don't know about you guys, but that was like a hard line to get payroll out of here. So it is not touched by employees. I don't know, it should not be at all.
So can we report on how that process works out? Any other?
I guess I was gonna talk about the report. I just wanted to thank Amy for putting the time in to send it. And it obviously, I think it's a good thing that it brought some of these discussions up too, but the extra time she put in is helpful. Also, just, I appreciate you and her sending things ahead of time, even though the packet wasn't completely ready. It was nice to kind of get items and supporting documents late last week and throughout the weekend that you had ready before the full packet was ready yesterday. So just thank you for that, and if you could continue as things are ready to send them ahead of time, that's helpful. But I wanted to thank Amy for putting that report together. Had some good stuff in there, so.
Any future item discussions, item number 12?
We'll look for kind of Teresa to give us some, or I'll be, I'm anxious to hear what Teresa is able to provide for the utility billing. But I think for me, we've probably got our hands full with the budget at this
Yeah.
point.
You got plenty to do.
Yeah.
You got plenty to do. I agree.
All right.
Well, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Well,
Merry
Thank you,
Christmas.
Teresa. Thank you,
Merry
Teresa.
Christmas.
Take care. Any public, we have no public present in the room tonight, so no comments. The next regular council meeting is scheduled for January 15th, 2025, 6:30 PM here at City Hall. And with that, our meeting business has been completed, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second, and non-debatables, we have Trevor Dursky,
Aye.
EJ Bell,
Aye.
Jim Kane,
Aye.
Samantha Peterson,
Aye.
David Fisher. Aye. David Fisher, and meeting is adjourned. 8:01 PM. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening and Merry Christmas. Have a great, safe holidays, folks.